football teams I've ever seen. Let me bring this up about this sterling game that Mr. Gabriel had. He had 3 impossible throws. There was 5 to 6 balls, but he overthrew wide open straight. A throw over the middle where he skipped the ball. What are you doing? A ball right behind that. He was 732. This is what we doing? 6 sacks. 6. But we still got to hear people talking about this. We still got to hear people talking about people running backwards in a preseason game, which you said didn't count because obviously you don't count the Panthers game. Huh? Look at Justin Fields. Look at this. Look at Justin Fields. Look at Justin. 6 of 11. You lost to a team with a quarterback who threw for 54 yards, which no receiver caught.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. I'm going to be real with you. What we just watched in that hook, that wasn't just another bad loss. That was the moment everything snapped in Cleveland. The Jets game wasn't a bump in the road, it was the wall. The moment the Browns slammed straight into reality and the whole city finally said, enough. You've got analysts on air basically begging for change, radio hosts losing their minds, the crowd literally chanting one name over and over, Shedeur, Shedeur, Shedeur. And somehow, on that sideline, the guy with the headset acts like he can't hear any of it. That's what blows my mind. The building is on fire, alarms are going off, and Kevin Stefanski is standing there like it's just a little smoke from the grill. Think about how insane this is for a second. You trade, you tank, you rebuild, you do whatever it takes to land the #1 overall pick. You call this kid the future, you put his face on every graphic, you sell hope around his name, and when the season starts slipping away, when your bridge quarterback is sinking you week after week, the guy you sold as the savior is holding a clipboard, watching his team get dragged on national TV. That Jets game is the breaking point because it exposed everything at once. It wasn't just the score, it was the way it felt. The offense looked lifeless. The decisions from the sideline made no sense. The body language was brutal. You could see it in the players' faces. Frustration, confusion, that here we go again. Look, Browns fans know too well. And up in the stands, the fans weren't just booing a bad throw or a single play call. They were booing the whole operation. They were booing the idea that this team is still pretending this is fine. You don't get this kind of reaction if it's just one bad afternoon. You don't get fan bases chanting the rookie's name for fun. This is weeks of watching the same mistakes, the same stubborn decisions, the same quarterback trotting back onto the field after killing drive after drive. This is media guys who usually defend the staff finally flipping and saying, no, this is on coaching now. You can feel it. The benefit of the doubt is gone. The rope is gone. The patience is gone. And ownership, they can't hide behind press releases and "we believe in our process" lines anymore. When your own radio stations are cooking you, when your own fans are trending hashtags calling for your head coach, when your own #1 pick looks like a hostage on the sideline, that's not just noise, that's pressure. Real pressure. That's the kind of pressure that reaches the top floor of the building, whether they want to admit it or not. You've also got to think about that locker room. Guys see what's happening. Don't let anybody lie to you and say they don't. Players know who can ball. They know who gives them a chance to win. When they watch a struggling quarterback get endless chances, while the most talented guy in the room never sees the field, that creates cracks. Offense versus defense, veterans versus coaches, belief versus doubt. That's how a season doesn't just go bad, it turns toxic. And every single snap that Shedeur Sanders doesn't play right now feels like a waste. Not just a wasted drive, not just a wasted game, a wasted year of development for a kid you're supposed to be building your entire future around. That's what makes this moment so heavy. This isn't just a cold start or a rough stretch. This feels like the line in the sand. Before the Jets game, you could still tell yourself, maybe they know something we don't. After that disaster, no. We all saw it. We all heard it. The truth is out in the open now. This is the breaking point in Cleveland. The moment where you either lean into the future or keep clinging to a plan that's clearly failed. And that's exactly why we need to talk about where Shedeur really stands in this franchise. Because the way they handle him next is going to define everything. Let me tell you something that the national media keeps dancing around but never actually dives into. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie waiting his turn. He's not some project quarterback you stash on the bench until the stars magically line up. Inside that building, from everything I've heard, from everything teammates hint at, from everything you can see with your own eyes if you just watch the sidelines, Shedeur stands a whole lot higher in this organization than this coaching staff's decisions would make you believe. And the craziest part, the players know it. You can read a locker room without anyone saying a word. Watch how guys react on the sideline. Watch who receivers gravitate toward. Watch which quarterback they talk to when the offense stalls. I promise you this, when Dylan Gabriel comes off the field, most of those dudes are staring at the tablet or heading back to the huddle. But when Shedeur stands up, when he says something, when he's breaking down what he sees in coverage, the wideouts lean in, the linemen listen. Veterans who've been around this league for a decade actually nod along. That's not normal for a rookie. That's respect. The coaching staff knows this too, even if they pretend they don't. They're not blind. They've seen the accuracy in practice. They've seen the command. They've seen the pocket discipline that Gabriel simply doesn't have. And look, I'm not making this up just to hype the kid. Players on this roster have said off camera that Shedeur already reads the field better than Gabriel. He sees rotations quicker. He anticipates windows earlier. He processes faster. This is the stuff NFL evaluators dream about in young quarterbacks. This is what separates could be good from franchise cornerstone. And that's exactly how the front office sees him. Remember, they didn't stumble into Shedeur. They pushed all their chips to the center of the table to get him. Cleveland didn't just draft him. They built their entire future around him. The plan for this season wasn't redshirt Shedeur and pray Gabriel becomes Kirk Cousins overnight. The plan was simple. Ease him in, get him comfortable, give him a few series early, let the game slow down, then unleash him when the time was right. But nothing about this depth chart makes sense anymore. Not when Gabriel is struggling this badly. Not when the offense looks like it can't function. Not when you're wasting reps on a player with a ceiling lower than the stadium roof. It's one thing to start a bridge quarterback. It's another thing to cling to him while the entire structure collapses around you. That's why fans feel so betrayed. They were told this year was about the future, about development, about building something real. Instead, the one guy with legitimate franchise upside, the only quarterback on the roster who can change the direction of this team, is watching from the sideline like a backup punter. And this is where things get dangerous, because when a franchise quarterback is ready, when the locker room knows he's ready, when the fans know he's ready and the coach still refuses to acknowledge it, that's when a small controversy turns into a full-blown organizational crisis. And we're not even at the boiling point yet, because now we have to talk about the critics, the chaos, and the conspiracy theories that are starting to erupt around this situation. Something is off in Cleveland, and I'm not talking about bad play calling, or a quarterback who can't push the ball downfield, or an offense that hasn't scored 30 points since what feels like the Obama administration. No. I'm talking about the tension, the energy, that feeling in your gut that says, there's more to this than football. Because let's be honest, at some point, you stop blaming the interceptions and the missed reads and the broken pockets, and you start asking the real question. Why is Kevin Stefanski this committed to Dylan Gabriel? Why is a quarterback who looks completely overwhelmed, completely out of sync, completely out of his depth, still the guy Stefanski is riding with into every single week? It doesn't add up. Not from a coaching standpoint, not from a locker room standpoint, not from a franchise standpoint. The football decisions alone are baffling. Gabriel isn't seeing the field well. He hesitates on throws that should be automatic in the NFL. He drifts in the pocket at the worst possible times, and he plays scared. You can see it in the way he tucks the ball, the way he checks it down, the way he avoids the middle of the field. Those aren't rookie moments. Those are signs of a quarterback who isn't ready for this level of play. And you know what makes it even worse? It's not getting better. The mistakes aren't shrinking. The growth isn't happening. The ceiling isn't inching upward, it's just flat. So of course the critics are circling. ESPN Cleveland, local beat guys, national analysts. Everyone is looking at Stefanski and saying, "What are you doing?" The fans are saying it louder than anyone. The media has turned this into a weekly referendum on his job. And every time Stefanski steps up to that podium and avoids the quarterback question like it's radioactive, he feeds the fire. But here's the part nobody wants to talk about, the Shedeur side of this. You can't ignore it anymore. Something is off between Shedeur's camp and the Browns coaching staff. I'm not saying there's open beef. I'm not saying there's yelling behind closed doors. But you can feel the distance. The Sanders family is a brand. They're powerful. They're intentional. And they've always been protective of Shedeur's development. So when they see a coach refusing to play him, refusing to give him even a handful of drives, refusing to accelerate his growth when the entire roster is crumbling, you think they're just shrugging that off? And that's where the conspiracies start creeping in. Is this ego? Is this Stefanski clinging to the idea that his guy, Gabriel, is the one he can mold? Is it politics? Is there someone in the building protecting the depth chart to avoid admitting a mistaken evaluation? Is the offense even built for Shedeur? Or did Stefanski design this version around Gabriel months ago and doesn't want to scrap it all mid-season? Or is there something deeper, a lack of trust between the coaching staff and the Sanders camp? I'm not saying any of these theories are gospel truth, but when the decisions stop making football sense, when the explanations stop holding weight, when the locker room looks confused and the fan base feels lied to, that's when you start asking questions, real questions. And right now, every sign, every quote, every press conference, every sideline shot points to something boiling under the surface in Cleveland, something bigger than a simple quarterback controversy. And the scariest part, we're getting dangerously close to the moment where that tension finally erupts. You know what's wild? For all the chaos around the Browns right now, the losing, the finger pointing, the quarterback drama, the one person who hasn't flinched once is the rookie everybody's fighting about. Shedeur Sanders has every reason in the world to be frustrated, to be vocal, to be demanding answers. But instead, he's doing the exact opposite. He's handling this storm with the kind of maturity you usually only see in quarterbacks who've been in this league a decade. He doesn't whine, he doesn't blame, he prepares. And that's the part Cleveland fans don't get to see up close. The work, the grind, the attitude behind the scenes. I've heard from people in that building, and I mean people who would know, that Shedeur is always one of the last guys off the field at practice. When everyone else is heading to the locker room, he's staying on the far side of the field, throwing extra outs, working footwork on the boundary, repping the same drops over and over until the equipment guys start packing up. That's not normal rookie behavior. That's superstar behavior. And the locker room feels it. The team feels it. You can tell by the body language. You can tell by who sits next to him in meetings. You can tell by the way veterans talk about him when the cameras aren't rolling. Guys don't gravitate towards someone quiet unless they respect him. And Shedeur, they gravitate toward him naturally. He's not the loudest voice in the room, but he's the one teammates look at when things start getting shaky. His preparation is already on a veteran level. That's the thing that gets overlooked in all this drama. The footwork is sharper than it was in camp. The timing in practice keeps tightening. The way he diagnoses coverages on the sideline, it's real. You see him talking through blitz looks, pointing out rotations before the defense shows them. He's processing faster. He's anticipating better. These are the traits that don't show up on stat sheets but show up big once a guy hits the field. And here's what really hits me. The pressure doesn't seem to crush him, it fuels him. Every chant of his name, that's gasoline. Every media rant about why he's not starting, that's fuel. Every moment Gabriel goes back on the field and struggles, Shedeur is over there taking mental reps like his life depends on it. Great quarterbacks grow in moments like this. Jalen Hurts sat through people doubting him for years before he broke out. Aaron Rodgers waited behind Favre longer than he wanted. Lamar had critics calling him a wide receiver before he became an MVP. Legends always get their moment, but the rise usually starts in the shadows. This is that moment for Shedeur. This is where the suffering becomes motivation. This is where the disrespect turns into hunger. This is where doing everything right while the world does everything wrong toughens you into something special. So while the outside world is panicking, while the coaching staff is stumbling, while the fan base is screaming, Shedeur is building, quietly, relentlessly, with purpose. Because deep down, I think he knows what we all know. The storm is temporary. The opportunity is coming. And when it finally arrives, he won't just be ready, he'll be unleashed. And that's exactly why the final chapter matters. Because the moment Cleveland decides to pull that trigger, everything changes. All right, this is it. This is the part where I stop dancing around it and say the thing every Browns fan, every analyst, every player in that locker room is quietly thinking. Cleveland has reached the moment of truth. You cannot keep doing what you're doing. You cannot keep pretending this is fine. You cannot keep wasting games, wasting momentum, and wasting the rookie season of a quarterback who was supposed to change the direction of this franchise. The Browns must pull the trigger. Whether that means benching Dylan Gabriel immediately, whether that means forcing Stefanski to swallow his pride and overhaul this offense, or whether that means Haslam walking into the facility tomorrow morning and saying, enough, play Shedeur. Something has to happen. Now, not next month. Not after the bye. Not once the season is mathematically dead. Right now. Because fans deserve honesty. Fans deserve direction. Fans deserve hope. And right now, the only thing keeping this team from hitting that reset button is the stubbornness of a coaching staff that refuses to look in the mirror. So here's my prediction, and I don't say this lightly. Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns within the next 1 to 2 games. That's the timeline. That's the window. That's where all the pressure, all the noise, all the tension is pushing this organization. You don't survive this kind of public meltdown as a head coach unless you make a move. And this is the move. And if Cleveland actually makes the right decision, if they finally stop tripping over themselves and hand the keys to the kid they drafted #1 overall, we could be looking at one of the most important turning points in Browns history. Think about everything this moment represents. The frustration of watching the season slip away, the politics boiling behind the scenes, the fan base screaming louder every week, the wasted drives, the wasted games, the wasted opportunities. All of it builds to this crossroads. Because somewhere underneath all the chaos is a quarterback with real star potential. A quarterback who was built for moments like this. A quarterback with NFL bloodlines, with leadership, with poise, with the kind of mental toughness you can't coach. That's what makes this moment different. That's why this isn't just another quarterback controversy. This is the franchise deciding who they want to be. And if Shedeur comes in and delivers, if he gives this team a spark, even a glimpse of the upside everyone knows he has, everything changes. Stefanski's job outlook changes. The AFC landscape changes. The entire narrative around Cleveland changes. And let's be real, the Sanders legacy changes too. Because if Shedeur goes from being benched and doubted to walking onto that field and saving a sinking franchise, that's not just a good story. That's mythology. That's the kind of arc NFL legends are born from. And that's why I'm saying this with my whole chest. When Shedeur finally steps on that field, everything changes. This isn't just a QB switch. This is the moment Cleveland chooses its future. The moment they stop clinging to what's comfortable and start embracing what's possible. And when Shedeur gets his shot, the league better be ready, because that's the moment Cleveland stops being a punchline and starts becoming a threat. That's my prediction, and honestly, I've never believed something more.